Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is 9 o'clock here on Thursday night, July the 10th. Time for the First Alert Weather Show at 9 o'clock. I'm glad you're here. I'm watching your comments on the 14 News Facebook page. So if you have any questions or want to shout out anything or, vent, whatever, that's what it's there for, and we'll check some of those out in a little bit. I'll tell you, it's getting trickier and trickier to come up with stuff to talk about. Weather-wise, when the forecast is basically the same old thing. We kind of have the summer doldrums going already, and by that I mean there just isn't a lot of variety in the weather. Not a bad thing. I mean, it could certainly be worse, but we're looking at mostly dry again tomorrow. That humidity came down today, and that really made a big difference. Even though we got up to 94, it was a comfortable, dry 94. Arizona type heat. What's next, though, is we have some scattered showers and storms this weekend. A little better chance for them, actually, as a cold front from the west moves our way and stalls out over the region. Also, another typical thing that happens in July, we get these systems that just kind of lose their mojo, and we wind up getting showers and storms. Right now, just as an example here, I'm going to pull up the composite radar so we can kind of get a glimpse of what's happening here off just to our west. And we have storms moving into Chicago now, Rockford, Illinois, and places up north. And then a little farther out west is where the cold front is. You can see that line of storms from about Omaha down here to Goodland, Hays, Kansas, Dodge City, out in that region, and on down toward Amarillo. And that's where they're staying, basically along that cold front. As the front gets closer to us, then we have that potential for storms here. Of course, nothing tonight, probably nothing tomorrow. If we get anything, it would be a very isolated type thunderstorm or shower. And then you see the cold front lined up here from about Chicago to Kansas City. And as that boundary then kind of washes out, we have an elevated or a higher risk for some severe storms, level 1. Now, we're talking about 0 up to like 0.1 here, not a big leap, and certainly not an outbreak or anything like that, just some scattered storms, and a few may be strong on Saturday. Look at our temperature. I mean, the thing's flatlined here. We have not had much variety in the temp here for the last couple of weeks. I guess we hit 99 there earlier or late in June, but here for July it's been pretty steady eddy. The peak heat index forecast for the next several days also not too concerning. I mean, near 100, which is pretty much par for the course this time of the year, but not prolonged. If we have these showers and storms coming through, we get a respite from the just oppressive continuous heat. Sunday also looking like another shot at some showers and storms around the tri-state. I showed the GFS rainfall for the next 7 days every night, and every day we get a different number on here. This for the overall average 7 days, now back down to 7/10. So I guess the only takeaway I have on this for you is that the reason I show it, first of all, is to see, well, are we going to have any rain at all? But the numbers, don't get too hung up on those. Your neighbor could get an inch of rain and you might not get any. You know how it goes this time of the year. Current temperatures are in the low to mid 80s in our part of the country. We still have some big hundreds out here to the west. Check out Vegas now, 107, Phoenix at 110, El Paso at 100. I think that rounds up all the hundreds out there. We must have some rain or a Pacific breeze there in LA, 68 degrees right now. And then, of course, muggy 70s and 80s in our half of the country. Around the region now, Chicago has dropped back to 70 with those showers and thunderstorms moving in. Lower 80s every place else where we haven't had rain. And you can pick your favorite town off the map here. I'll pick a couple. How about Madisonville? We haven't done that one in a while. 77, Oakland City 82, Huntingburg 78, and Grayville at 82. Now Mount Carmel, they're in Wabash County at 81, Fairfield at 78. And your feels-like temperatures don't really bump that up too much. As I said, we hit 94 today. The highest temperature we've had so far this year was 98. So, we're dancing around those higher numbers, and you would expect that in July. We've had all 90s except for the previous 3 days. We hit 88 each one of those, but otherwise we're getting into that hot time of the summer. And no rain, of course. Our month now, we're back where we're behind by about an inch of rain. But again, you know, that's sort of a, not an annualized, it'd be like a monthalized total. In other words, we're supposed to have around 4 inches of rain in July. So to calculate the daily norm and the monthly norm, we simply take that 4 inches divided among the 30 days here, or 31 days in July, and then go back, and you know, that's how we figured out. I guess you prorate it. Would that be right? Yeah. And so, of course, you're going to have days where you're down, days where it's up, depending on rainfall. What I'm trying to say here is don't freak out that we're an inch behind on rainfall. We'll get the rain. Tomorrow, back into the low to mid 90s, and you know, our map will evolve a little bit. By that point, we'll have either a cold front or stationary front just off to our west, and that'll be moving in to generate those showers. Our model has really not jumped on board here with anything major coming through storm-wise, certainly not tomorrow. Saturday, it's more of a scattered kind of thing, and Sunday too. You saw that on the other model. And then the European taking us out through the weekend there, Sunday into Monday. Looks like we will dry out again. So Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday dry toward the end of next week. Some showers and storms possible. 72 tonight and partly cloudy. Our high tomorrow will get up to 93. And it'll be sunny and hot, of course. And then the 7-day forecast is hot, humid, scattered thunderstorms. Looks like we'll take a little break again in the action Monday, Tuesday. Very low chances there. I'm not expecting anything at all for tomorrow. And longer range, look at this. We may actually pull those temperatures onto the cool side of things up through the 20th and still stay wet, meaning we will get periodic rain through the period. Our pet pick tonight, oh my goodness, the gremlins hit again here. I got to rotate that one, which I am happy to do here. This is Harold, Jasper Colley's cat, and I have my my macros set here for something else, but we can certainly rotate Harold around here so he looks like he's oriented correctly. There we go. Aren't you glad we did? He's working on a flea or something there in his ear. You know how they do. So anyway, I appreciate the picture there, Jasper. And while we're checking out Harold, and Harold is checking out his ear there, let's have a look at your questions, comments, concerns, all that sort of thing. We got Sergeant Williams in from Owensboro. Welcome, Sard. Lacey Martin. Byron and I have been here a very long time. We have. I've been here a little bit longer, it's 36 years. Byron just marked his 30th year here at 14 News. So yeah, we've been together. And actually, my 36th wedding anniversary was just on the 8th, a couple days ago, right? And so yeah, I've been here and with Byron almost as long as I've been married. I've actually been here a little longer than I've been with my wife. We were engaged when I got this job. All right, let's see here. Ricky Brown, hello. How are you? Congrats to Michael on his 1 year. Yes, he has developed into a great part of our team. I couldn't agree more. Let's see, Craig McFadden says that. Paula Schaefer, good evening. And wow, no update from Jeff Miller. Oh, there it is, there it is. He says took the day off. That must mean you're not out, you know, lifting that bale and toting that barge out there. Well, that's good. Let's see. Caden Shepard, is it supposed to rain tomorrow in Muhlenberg County? No, I don't think so. I don't think any of us are going to see rain tomorrow, to be honest with you. I mean, I always try to be honest with you, but to tell you the truth, there just isn't anything to kick off those showers. Until we get a cold front or something in here, it's going to be really, really hard to get anything going on. John Radis gave the AC a break. Well, that's good. Yeah, when the humidity's low, you can put up with a lot of heat. William Raleigh, no rain to report again today. Spent the day in Centralia. Okay, that is a cool place. Amtrak comes through there. I picked my son up. He rides down from Chicago. Of course, Centralia, a made-up town. I think Illinois Central, right? Made that. Their shops are there or something. There were two lines that crossed there. There's something about it, but I've read the history of Centralia while waiting for the train there. You got to check out that Carillon too. Big Carillon, the editor of the newspaper, did some fundraising, money raising, whatever, and there's this Carillon, and they play it, I think, this time of the year every night at 6 p.m. And we're talking about Centralia, Illinois. So for those of you here in the tri-state, that is about 2 hours west of here. If you get on 64, go through Mount Vernon, Centralia would be on the US 51 exit. It's about, I think, 15 miles west and then 5 miles up. Okay? Let's see. So maybe you got to hear the Carillon. I never hear, I'm always there like 10 minutes after it finished, or, you know, can't stay long enough to hear it. Dorothy Swingle from Delta, Alabama. Well, my goodness. Well, welcome, Dorothy. We're glad to have you here. You know, you're sizzling in Alabama too. There's not really much escape from the heat here in our part of the country, but all are welcome here, so glad to have you. And Cheyenne's excited about the cool temps. All right, yeah, it's always good to advertise those. Hopefully they will come true. Now, my experience with cold fronts in July is that they turn into cool fronts, turn into non-fronts, turn into focusing mechanisms for a few storms, and that's about it. Okay, I got a short science corner for you tonight, and this one has to do with something we get a little more frequently here in the late summer, and that is microburst. And to describe that, this is an older picture, screen grab actually, that I got from our weather camera downtown. I think I got this last summer, probably about this time. And what we're looking at in this case, it looks like a mushroom cloud or a tornado, but actually it was a thunderstorm. The base of it is there, and this is the rain shaft. So you have an area in the storm where you would have rain coming down, cool air and rain. And if you can imagine, when that cool air hits the ground, it has to spread out, right? It can't, you know, keep going straight down, so it moves out like that. And in a rain shaft situation like this, which is fairly benign, you might get a little 20, 30 mile an hour cool breeze out of the thunderstorm, in addition to the rain. But when we talk about microbursts, we have to consider, first off, how the thunderstorm develops, which is on an updraft, right? We have warm air going up, carrying moisture, and it condenses and forms a cloud because the air up here very cold, usually below freezing. And so we get this cumulonimbus cloud, and we have an updraft and a downdraft, so it's very efficiently producing rain. And we call that the mature stage, where basically the updraft and downdraft are balanced, each one about the same strength. Well, what happens over time, especially this time of the year when we have these isolated storms that pop up on their own, is that the storm will begin to dissipate. It will begin basically to collapse. And it becomes all downdraft at that stage. Well, if you have a lot of cold air and rain and so forth up here, that's going to, you know, create quite a force when it comes down. Typically, though, it happens in a more graduated way, causes an outflow boundary, which then is the focus for another storm to develop downstream of the first one. Okay, so no problem there. That's very common. But microbursts take it a step further. And basically what happens in this case, yes, we have the updrafts, but we have dry air aloft, and that causes a more of an rapid evaporative cooling. Now remember, the cool air is going to be heavier or more dense than the warm air, so it wants to go down along with the precip. Well, if you have a big mass of cold air here that suddenly was cooled, it's going to come crashing down. Not, you know, the nice collapse like we saw in these thunderstorms, I mean with force. And as it comes down, it could kick up winds of maybe up to 100 miles an hour or greater. There have been documented cases of microbursts that have produced 150 mile an hour winds up to 2 miles from the point of where it collapsed. And, you know, 150 mile an hour winds are equivalent to an EF2 or EF3 tornado. It'd actually be an EF3 at 150. But my point here is that sometimes, you know, we worry about tornadoes and that, but it's a collapsing thunderstorm that can really cause some damage. Maybe not to that degree every time, but something that we watch for. And so when you see isolated thunderstorms popping up, that tends to be the thing that we worry about, especially if the thunderstorm became severe at some point. It's not out of the realm that when the thing collapses, it can produce these damaging winds, even a brief tornado. All right. Let's see. Lacey Martin's going to do some stuff in Owensboro. Well, if you're doing it tomorrow, of course, you got Friday after 5 going on. Owensboro always has stuff going on, so you should be able to do some stuff without having to dig around too much. What would be a standout weather event during my career in the tri-state? I would say, well, the two eclipses, well, that's not quite weather, that's more astronomy, but those were exceptional, mainly because they are rare, and the fact that we had 2 7 years apart total eclipses, I got to see them both, and we had clear skies. That was pretty awesome. I think the tornado that happened just a year ago in July in Mount Vernon was one that was a standout because, you know, like I said yesterday, July is a quiet month. That's why usually we all take vacations this time of the year because there's nothing going on weather-wise. That would be one. I would have to say, you know, of course, the December 10th tornado in western Kentucky, the November 6th tornado in Evansville, those are obviously, you know, they were big events. They were very tragic events, unfortunately. Some other things, I think this ice storm this past winter was pretty spectacular. We had, what, 19 inches of snow or something like that, the ice storm. The big ice storm back in '09, yeah, we could be here all night talking about it, but those are some that stand out in particular with me. I remember very specifically on the first ice storm, this was in 2009, and walking out of the station here at 10 o'clock, or 10:30 after the late news, and hearing trees crashing and seeing these transformers blow up and power flashes. It was surreal, and you just kept hearing these thuds and bangs, and more lights would go off. It was really kind of frightening. In 2004, I think it was December the 22nd or 3rd, we had a big snow. That was the one where we had a little over 19 inches of snow up along Interstate 64, southern Gibson County, and of course here in Vandenberg County, and the rest of the tri-state had a lot of snow. But that was a thunder and lightning event, and as close to wasn't a blizzard from the visibility standpoint and wind, but it was an incredibly spectacular snowstorm. So there's a few for you. Let's see. If a flooding event happened here like Texas, how catastrophic would it be? That's a good question. And the short answer is, land-wise, our topography, the way that the land is around here is not really as conducive to that type of flash flooding. Yes, we get flash flooding. Roads will flood, the water comes up in underpasses and things like that. But what we saw in Texas, in the hill country in particular, you have a lot of these, it's kind of like desert in a way. So you have valleys and rivers, and no place for that water to go. So when you do get the heavy rain, it goes straight up. Around here we have a lot more forgiving terrain, and so it's pretty tough to get that kind of impact. It could certainly happen, but it would be very rare for that kind of an event to happen here, just because of our topography and the way it is. Now, I've said that, English, Indiana, which is not too far from here, I think it's in Orange County, but over toward Louisville, they had a horrendous flood there, several. And I think one was in 1980 perhaps, and there was one in the 70s. Milltown, Indiana, if you've ever gone to Cave Country Canoes, the Blue River, went bananas, and that's a real deep valley. English actually was so bad they moved the whole town to higher ground. So there's nothing at Old English anymore, some abandoned buildings. So yeah, things like that happen around here, but they are quite rare. Patty throws in the June 8th, 82 storm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. The blizzard of 78. Yeah, I don't know why news age, so I'm not not going to date myself too much. But yeah, of course, I remember 1982 and 78, the blizzard and the windstorm in 82. I think today, in looking back, that 82 storm was probably a derecho, a long-lived wind event. Because we had, 70, 80 mile an hour winds in a wide swath across the tri-state. It wasn't a tornado, although people may have seen funnel clouds in that, but it was mainly a wind event. Everything went, in one direction and flattened out. So yeah, that was a big one too. All right. I think that's probably enough here for this evening. I appreciate you watching our stream show every night at 9. I'll be back here tomorrow night. Let's see, Michael Fecka will be with you tomorrow afternoon, and of course Byron Douglas in the morning. So please stay safe and have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow here on 14 News.